Hi, it's Barbara here. I'm really glad to be talking to you during this harvest-themed services for our Allsorts service. Just to reassure you, I'm not really sitting in a barn, although I'd quite like to be. This is a screenshot from when I had a harvest service in my barn when I was farming. So the reading that's been set for the Allsorts stream of harvest services is from Mark's Gospel, chapter 4, beginning at the beginning, the story of the farmer. Again, Jesus began to teach by the Sea of Galilee. The crowd that gathered round him was very large, so he got into a boat. He sat down in it out on the lake. All the people were along the shore at the water's edge. He taught them many things by using stories. In his teaching, he said, "Listen, a farmer went out to plant his seed. He scattered the seed on the ground. Some fell on a path. Birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where there wasn't much soil. The plants came up quickly, but because the soil wasn't deep, they died. When the sun came up, it burned the plants. They dried up because they had no roots. Other seed fell among thorns. The thorns grew up and crowded out the plants, so the plants did not bear grain. Still others fell on good soil. It grew up and produced a crop, 30, 60, or even 100 times more than the farmer planted." Then Jesus said, "Those who have ears should listen." Later, Jesus was alone. The 12 asked him about the stories, and so did others around him. He told them, "The secret of God's kingdom has been given to you. But to outsiders, everything is told by using stories. It's this way. They will see but will never know what they are seeing. They will hear but never understand. Otherwise, they might turn out and be forgiven." Then Jesus said to them, "Don't you understand this story? Then how will you understand any stories of this kind? The seed the farmer plants is God's message. What is seed scattered on a path like? The message is planted. The people hear the message. Then Satan comes. He takes away the message that was planted in them." And that's the first part of our reading for the Allsorts services from Mark. And in Jesus's time, this parable about seeds being sown would have been very familiar to those listening. Farming at that time of Jesus was an occupation that was very close to all village families and all communities. So every detail of that parable would be real to those who heard Jesus. Sowing seeds then was very different to how we sow seeds now. These days, as we are aware in our rural areas, we have very large machines which not only plant the seeds, but prepare the ground before drilling the seeds into it. They prepare the ground very precisely. The seeds are drilled very precisely, and often appropriate fertilizer is added as well. And these highly mechanized machines are often controlled by technology that speaks to satellite mapping, which tells the machine precisely how many seeds per square foot or meter over every part of the field should be sown according to what's needed. These highly technical machines can drill in 10 meters wide and can cost almost as much as a small terraced house in some parts of the country. In total contrast, in Jesus's time, things couldn't have been any more simple. Often the seed would have been in a bag tied around the farmer's waist, and he would walk around his land, which could often just be a rocky ledge, not what we might call a field, throwing the seed out in handfuls in a wide sweeping motion. High mechanization in those times would have been a donkey with a sack of seed on his back with a small hole in the sack so the seed could dribble out as he walked along. So we can see how relevant this parable would have been to Jesus's listeners then. If it was a windy day, or the farmer or the donkey tripped, the seed could have gone anywhere, on a path for the birds to eat, on stony ground, in rocky places, in the midst of thorns. It was all very hit and miss. And during our harvest service, during the Allsorts services, we'll be talking each week about one of the places where the seed fell. And this week, I'll be talking a bit about the grain falling on stony ground. Jesus explained his parable by saying this, that the seed the farmer plants is God's message. And when a seed is scattered on a path, the people hear the message, but Satan gets in the way and takes the message planted in them, takes that message away. Quite a tricky message to unpick. And for many people, Christian faith is not relevant at all in their lives. They seem to get on very well without any faith at all. And that's usually true when life is treating us well, when everything goes smoothly and we have no worries. But I think there are times in all of our lives, whether we have faith or not, that we need sometimes to look outside our lives for a higher power, our God. And this time of seeking can often come at a time of loss or despair. And it's at this time that we need the comfort of a faith, as some people are finding at the moment following the death of our Queen. For many people, that's stirring up a lot of difficult memories of loss in their own lives. And it's interesting to know that in all the many thousands of people queuing up to see the Queen lying in state, there are over 100 chaplains on duty, assisting anybody in the crowd that might need some time to talk or time to express their sorrow. And as an agricultural chaplain, I've walked the walk with many farmers during times of stress and anxiety. Some of the obvious examples over the years would be foot and mouth, the effects of the weather, drought, floods. All of these things outside the farmer's control can cause very high levels of stress, particularly as the majority of farmers work day by day and night by night, year by year on their own. It can be very easy for dark thoughts to creep in. As alluded to in verse 15 of the reading, what is seed scattered on the path like? The message is planted, the people hear the message, then Satan comes, he takes away the message that was planted in them. And this can be true for all of us Christians. There can be times when we doubt our faith, but what we need to remember is that during these times of doubt, when we can't find God, there is the comfort of knowing that God always finds us. As we're told in Psalm 139, your right hand will hold me fast. Harvest is all about faith. When seeds are planted in the autumn or the spring, we have no idea if they'll emerge and grow into a full crop. Farmers can, of course, and do their best to look after and nurture the seed as it germinates and emerges from the soil. And it looks like a miracle when we can see a farm turn almost overnight from brown to green. We need the faith in God's creation to make this happen. Farmers work hand in hand with creation and therefore with God, with turning this seed that I'm just scattering here, this seed, which is dry and seems lifeless, and it turns into this crop, which we can see around our fields, mostly now all gathered in, but our crop of wheat and corn and barley and oats all safely gathered in. That is then turned into this bread, which nourishes us and sustains us throughout of our lives. That is what we celebrate, and that is what we thank God for during this season of harvest. We also thank our farmers who work with God's creation to turn this seed into this harvest, and then again into this bread. So we thank our farmers for all that they do to give us the bread and the food that sustains us. I want to finish with a quote from Radio 4, and it's from Radio 4, it's got to be right. You need a solicitor maybe once a year, a doctor 2 or 3 times a year, an estate agent 3 or 4 times a lifetime. But if you're lucky enough to eat 3 meals a day, you need a farmer 1,095 times a year. Finish with a short prayer for God's creation. Lord of all creation, each day is a gift from you. Give us eyes to see the beauty of your world, ears to listen to the sounds of your creation, and grace to use your gifts wisely and well, and for all to share. Amen.